All right. If you just joined the room, we're talking about rich versus broke mindset. And if you've got anything you want to sort of add to this conversation, did you?
Hey, John.
Hey, my
Can
man, how's
you?
it going? Yes, I
Thank
can.
you. Thank you for your opportunity, John. Because of my job as an architect and someone who helps people for a style and live better, I am always on the side of rich people. And one thing I saw in common with all of them was that they are thinking of creating rather than seek help for others. Seek more help and do their best to solve a problem in their area of work. It's very important that we find a problem and try to find a solution to it. It will surely get rich in this way. It may not even be direct, but it can create a good relationship for us, which can also help us achieve our goals. Thank you. I learned a lot from you and Samantha, Rob, Ryan. I'm always happy in here. I'm very happy to be with you. Thank you, John.
Oh,
I'm
thank you
the
so much. I appreciate you. Yeah, thanks for that, brother. We've got Ryan Pinnock in the house as well. I mean, Ryan is, when it comes to, I call Ryan I mean, he really is a genius. I mean, he's actually got genius.club. He's got amazing branding for Super Genius. Again, he's created multi seven-figure companies as well, using this very specific brand. And Ryan, some things that we're talking about the rich versus the broke mindset. You've obviously created multi-millions in your business and in some of the things that you've done. I know you've invested in real estate and property as well. But one of the things I love about what you've done is you've had that ability to, people always talk about law of attraction, right? And it's a bit fluffy, but somehow you've managed to decipher the process on how to actually make that happen. And you've just created this level of consciousness, which and I see in a lot of rich people, and I was talking about this yesterday, like how in meditation you can open the third eye and connect with the divine will, right? Well, I also see that entrepreneurs have the entrepreneur third eye, and that is to see trends and to see things that are going to happen. Like Steve Jobs would say to Wozniak, how do people know what they want if they've never even seen it before? And I know that you are just a genius, excuse the pun, at doing this because you've sort of formulated it and structured it in a way. So I would love for you to maybe give it like a little masterclass and on how you've been able to do that, because I think we're very lucky to first of all have you in this room. And I've not met many people be able to sort of decipher this in the way that you've done this, and you're coming from so many different angles that it just wows me. I'm like, wow, that's what an amazing perspective. And I think if more people in this room really could have understand your perspective and the level of consciousness as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, as somebody who's created multi-million-dollar businesses, I think being able to structure that and be able to give that to our audience would be a true gift today. So, brother, over to you.
Yes, thank you, John. And thanks to everyone who's contributed in the room so far. I always feel like I learn more than I contribute when I'm in these rooms. And thank you, John, as well. Your rooms are always, insanely well participated in, contributed in, and always drive really, really good quality of conversations. I literally listen, 90% of the time that I participate in Clubhouse, because not only do I learn from you, but we've got Rezo, who's an architect, and what I love is listening to different industries and how they go about creating their own success. Because if, for example, I'm in the personal development space, if I always just continue doing what people do in the personal development space, the industry, my business won't innovate, won't change directions. So what I love is listening from different businesses, different industries, and seeing how I can potentially implement what other people are doing and therefore be a pioneer in our industry. So thanks so much for that, John. That's fantastic. Well, when I was in my 20s, much like everyone else, I was in a career that I wasn't passionate about. And so when I got introduced to personal development, I saw a opportunity to change my life. I remember I went to my first personal development workshop, and we did this goal setting exercise. And I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize you can set goals in your life. That was so foreign to me. I didn't even know what my goals were. So I had to borrow goals from a dude next door to me. And he wrote down in his goals, I want a Ferrari. I was like, yeah, I want a Ferrari. So that was the level of mindset and consciousness I started my journey from. But interestingly, I got into real estate. Very grateful for that. It gave me an exit out of my corporate career. And I did very well from that. So much so that I was invited to be a speaker in my late 20s for a company called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, of which many people here would have heard of that organization. And that was interesting because even in real estate, even though I was making a lot of money, I still didn't have that fulfillment. I felt like something was missing. I don't know if anyone can actually relate to that. And so when I started speaking, I was like, whoa, hang on a second. This is tickling a void in my fulfillment that nothing else has. And again, I did extremely well as a speaker for 3 to 4 years with Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I got promoted through the ranks and ran some trainings. I actually co-launched the Rich Dad business training here in the UK with a good friend of mine, Rohan. We launched that business, help people start and grow a business in that sense. So one of the things I observed speaking to hundreds of people at any one time, and it is actually a privilege. John will say this, Samantha will say this, Rob will say it, all the people on the panel will say it. When you're serving people at volume, the rate of learning that you've got is exponential because you start to notice patterns. You start to notice common key problems that people have. You can then solve those problems with solutions. You can innovate programs, systems. So it is a real privilege to serve people at mass because your rate of learning is incredibly fast. And this is something very important. You know, when I'm coaching people to start or grow a business based on their purpose and their genius, I do say that you want to make it simple. You know, the big mistake people make is they create an elaborate product and service right off the bat with no experience. But if you've got a program that, let's say, takes 12 months to deliver, and it's the first time you're doing this, well, your learning cycle is going to be 12 months. That is far too slow. You want to actually reduce your learning cycle so that you can learn, grow, make mistakes with minimal risk, and innovate your product and service to a much, much higher level. But anyway, after teaching lots and lots of people at mass for Rich Dad, I started to notice that I don't actually know the numbers, but not everybody was creating the same results and the same success. Some people would absolutely smash it, and some people would just struggle. And I was like, what the heck is going on here? And you know, I'm a bit of a idealist. I want the best for everyone. That's not always possible, as I'm learning in my life. But I wanted to go, hang on a second. I don't want some people to get a result. I want everybody to get a result. And that's where my curiosity, I suppose, my intuition led me to going on a journey to not just understand mindset, but also to understand consciousness. And I realized that the missing link between making some people successful versus making everyone successful was consciousness. Gary Vaynerchuk says, you know, the key to his success is self-awareness. I've been very fortunate to speak at events alongside Gary Vaynerchuk on 2 or 3 occasions now. Can't remember, I've lost count. And being behind the scenes is sometimes as powerful and valuable as being on stage. So I've been able to ask him this. I said, like, hey, dude, what's the number one reason for your success? And he goes, self-awareness. And that's strange because Gary Vaynerchuk, as we all know, is one of the world's leading commentators on digital marketing and social media. And to have him say self-awareness is the number one reason he's successful really just confirmed my assumption that, yes, you've got to go to jl.club and learn, you know, all these amazing tools and techniques. But if you don't master your self-awareness, if you don't have clarity of purpose, quite frankly, no tactics are going to make you successful. And I realized this in my 20s. I was investing in property and I'd make money, lose money, make money, lose money, make money. I was on a financial roller coaster and it was torture. But then when I was able to get clarity of purpose, when I was able to heal my unconscious mind, and I'll give you some tips on how to go about doing that as we go through the day today, that's when I not only made money, but I kept money. And that's equally important. They're actually two different skills. Making money is one skill. Keeping money, not attracting things that, go about taking the money that you've made, an unexpected family challenge, or a car crash that costs you a lot of money, or something in your house that needs repairs. I'm of the opinion, and Rob mentioned it this morning, that everything that happens in your life is a reflection of your consciousness. I'm not saying everything in your life is your fault. So that's maybe where I slightly differentiate with Rob's message, although I understand where he's coming from. I'm not saying that everything that happens in our life is our fault, but we do have control of everything, and in particular, our reaction of our reality. So I'd love to just switch the conversation up here to include members of the panel, of which I'm very grateful. Thanks to everyone for being on the panel. Really appreciate your time, love, and energy and wisdom. And I'd love to hear from you on the panel. What are your thoughts around the mindset? We've spoken a lot about tactics, strategies. What is your thought? What is your journey, and what works for you in relation to the mindset of creating wealth and going from broke mindset? So Anna, I see your mic is flashing. Thank you so much, and wisdom. And I'd love to hear from you on the panel. What are your thoughts around the mindset? We've spoken a lot about tactics, strategies. What is your thought? What is your journey, and what works for you in relation to the mindset of creating wealth and going from broke mindset? So Anna, I see your mic is flashing. Thank you so much. How are you? And
Hi, Ryan.
what would you love to contribute?
Thank you so much. Nice to meet you. I don't believe I've ever interacted with you, so honored to be here with you as well. And I love what you shared about consciousness and self-awareness. I couldn't agree with you more. I actually, given my own journey, again, I'm not going to tell necessarily my story, but just to kind of give context, having been raised in orphanages from the moment, I opened my eyes during the War of Lebanon until coming to the US. After having been through 11 different orphanages and schools, and English is my fourth language. I spoke different languages in Lebanon, three. By the time I came here, that's where I learned English, and I came here with $160. And I was always self-aware. Like, I worked on myself starting at the age of 4, literally, to change my character, to change how I saw the world, like literally created a system of disciplining myself and change my character. And I mean it. Like, I used to be a very angry kid, very hate filled, and I took on Jesus as my example, role model. Now, in terms of his unconditional love and unconditional forgiveness. Now, when I came to America, I delved deep. I came here with $160 as a young teen. I delved deep into the understanding of how the subconscious mind works and understanding what it would take to create sustainable results and change. And I believe this is what you're talking about. And I believe I am probably the only one that I know of on the planet who have your strategy is really the strategy, the tactics, and you're absolutely right. If the mindset, and especially at the subconscious level, because it's 1 million times more powerful than the conscious mind, then we cannot produce those results. And so I integrated that at the core of what I teach the kids, and around it, teaching them, doing college prep, career prep, and then wealth creation and becoming philanthropists. And so when they are able to shift, heal, as you're saying, the unconscious, and shift disempowering beliefs at the subconscious level into empowering ones, that's the only way that we can sustain the outcomes. Otherwise, we go back. Now, is that like a straight line? I don't think so. It's like, until there are levels, right? Where it comes to self-love, let's see, feeling that I'm enough, I'm good enough, I'm trusting, etc. So when we understand that that's really at the core of everything, it changes everything. And you cannot get to that unless and until you have self-awareness. So I'm with you, and I've been able to, like, my results at the academy are proof. 100% of my kids graduate from high school. I've worked with over 140,000 kids, and we studied 3,400 of them, like 100% graduate. from high school, 98% go to colleges and universities. And of those, 90% graduate, which is twice the national average in the US of 40%. And we exceed, and my kids, they're not all from privileged backgrounds to say, oh yeah, these are the best kids. I mean, I've taken kids with 2.0, 1.0 GPA, which is considered, and turn them into A students when they to produce dozens and dozens of multimillionaire kids by teaching them all the different strategies. So I believe I was the first and the only one. I mean, literally, I received funding from Merrill Lynch. They gave us 800,000, and they'd be like really puzzled as to why are you doing all this? Like, what does that have to do with anything? Because it wasn't trendy. This is pre The Secret. The Secret in 2006 opened the minds of people. And I was doing this as a young girl. And how did I figure it out? Based on my own life. Like, I figured I had so many issues, very dysfunctional background. The only way for me to progress and be sustainable and reach happiness, not just because working like very, I mean, I've been a workaholic all my life and a go-getter, but I wanted to also have happiness and I wanted to have fulfillment. I just didn't want to be successful and just die because, you know, I'm unhappy at the end of my life because I just felt so insecure about everything. So it was just more in a you could say self-centered, not self-centered, self-loving way without even realizing it at the time. But I used it in real time to train the kids and bring in real time. And there's a difference, the last thing that I'm going to say, between understanding intellectually the concepts and then being able to own it, like, and feel it in your body. And then, and that the only way to do that again in others. And Deepak Chopra. So I looked at all kinds of modalities. I came up with my own way to kind of make it simple, because for me, it's about like, how do you make it dummy proof? That's my system in life. How do you make it simple so people can consume it and really see really fast changes in their lives? I hope this supports what you're asking, Ryan. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. And very, very powerful. Meditation's been very powerful for me as well. And it can be very simple, you know. I remember being quite resistant to meditation, thinking, oh my gosh, I've got to levitate. But I find I'm still working on that one. So
that's possible, Ryan.
yeah. So, but I find, you know, I get into a meditative state even when I do things like driving long journeys on the motorway. Oh my gosh, I love that so much. Walking in nature. So we don't all have to be sitting cross-legged, levitating, although that is quite fun. So, you know, anything that puts someone into a state where you feel present, where maybe your thoughts, feelings, and worries dissipate, that could be defined, I suppose, in some way as meditation. So thank you, Anna. That's a wonderful conclusion.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ryan. And can I tell you, I've never heard anyone besides myself say like they love driving because they get into the meditative state. I'm the same way. I love driving for that reason. Thank you.
Appreciate you. Babylon, Brooke, what's happening, my friend? Good to hear you. We're chatting about the mindset, literally the mindset of rich versus broke. What have you got to share? And lovely to see you, my friend.
Thank you so much for having me, Ryan. It's Babylon Brooke blowing you a kiss. And Anna, I love what you just shared.
I love you, Babylon Brooke. Oh. I can't wait to meet you in LA. I'm in LA, by the way.
We have to meet then. We have to make that happen.
Happy belated birthday, love. Sorry.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Absolutely. I love this topic. I am all about, oh my gosh, mindset all day, every day. Some people rosé all day, every day. I mindset. I know it doesn't rhyme, but you know, whatever. It is what it is. I think it's really interesting because so many of us, regardless of our backgrounds, where we came from, what our socioeconomic, you know, background is, geography, et cetera, there always seems to be still this line, this thread of lack and of scarcity. And that's passed down generation to generation, depending on what each generation went through. And really, people didn't begin talking about this or writing about this until the 19th century. And I think about Wallace Wattles with The Science of Getting Rich. But before him, I mean, it wasn't really a big thing. And so, you know, then you have our grandparents' generation, you know, Great Depression, and then our parents' generation with Vietnam, and whatever the case may be, in whatever country you're from, everyone has been through different things where they've had this deep-seated belief system that is so upside down about money. And I look at it as money, just like anything else, and specifically mindset, but I know we're talking about, you know, money to be super clear. Sorry, guys, it's late here. But it's like, to me, going to the brain gym. Like if you want to work out a muscle on your body, you go to the gym. If you don't, you're not going to work out that muscle. You're not going to get strong. So the same goes for anything when it's mindset related. You need to go to the gym. You need to work out your mind. You know, what do you believe? What are your beliefs? Change. And I love what Anna said, because it's true. You can do that till the count. You can do all. Start with for this. I love this topic, and I'm blowing you a kiss. Sorry, need to get some water.
That's cool. We're good. 2 weeks ago, I kind of had to, even though I don't normally react, but I had a crazy reaction. Get that water, babe. Let's get you back.
Yeah, no, I had a frog in the throat. It's out now. Sorry about that. I'm blowing you all a kiss, but thanks for having me on the conversation.
You're supposed to kiss frogs, not eat them.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, you didn't follow the instructions there, babe. You know what I'm saying? So
well, tell that to the frog, and next time it won't hop into my mouth.
What an image.
Yeah, right. Okay. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, we'll leave you on that image. Okay. So, yeah, we're talking about the rich versus broke, and I'd love to hear. Okay, I'll jump in. Otherwise, we're going to do a silent meditation for 2 hours. Or Amit.
Yeah. I don't know. I just wanted to break the awkward silence.
Please, save us all from the awkward silence.
Hi,
how are you? And what would you love to share? Thank you for chiming in.
Absolutely. Actually, I just joined the conversation, so actually, I would love to listen in, but I can also share a bit of my own personal experience. So, my parents grew up in a post-Soviet and Soviet country, Lithuania, and my dad was pretty much of an exception because he worked in IT and finance, so he was well traveled and well educated, so as my mom. But in general, I find it fascinating when you compare the generational changes, and how people literally were really not financially educated, especially in the country that I'm from, and how things are quickly changing, and Lithuania is becoming the hub of startups and fintech, while in the meantime, like 20 years ago, it was really far away from that. And I remember when I was, 11 or 10, my dad would bring me like all these weird books about rich dad versus poor dad, and all of these other books, and I would like read those books. I mean, it was like really something different compared to maybe people that were like children that were my age. So when I was a teenager, I've started buying and reselling clothes. That was like my side hustle, because I wanted to have money that I could do whatever I wanted with that money. And later on, when I got a bit older, I started investing that money into different ETFs and stocks. So basically, this is what I do on the side, as well as some other side hustles, but which kind of bring what guys talking about, because I just literally joined. But my mindset is, have side hustles, invest the money, put money aside, buy apartments, buy ETFs, buy stocks. If one or another field, like I'm in the healthcare sector, so if I buy like random stocks, I prefer to buy from the money that I get from side hustle, and that's kind of, these are more my risk my riskier investments. And also, I invest in the field that I know, which is, healthcare. When COVID hit, I started investing into different pharma companies and yada yada, which was pretty good bet because I knew the sector. So I don't know. I mean, I would love to learn more and hear more what you were guys talking about. I really like, also from my personal standpoint, I don't, even though I can afford some, like, I don't know, luxury goods and stuff like that, but I would prefer to put that money into something else that maybe in the long term will give me, bigger returns. I don't know. So that's kind of how I am. And it's not because I'm Goldman, but because that's how, I don't know, I was raised, and that's how my dad maybe taught me when I was a kid. So yeah, anyway, so I would love to hear from all of you guys, and it's a great pleasure to be, as always, with you. Ta-da!
I like that end, actually. Ta-da! Man, I wish I thought of that. That's a really nice one. I like that. You can make that your signature close, Babylon's got blowing you a kiss, and yours could be ta-da! I like that.
Ta-da!
I love it. Brilliant. Genius. But I love you said something super wise, which we need to address, right? And welcome, Tenji. Always a pleasure to have you, my friend. We're going to pop over to you in just a moment if you're free. We're discussing the mindset of rich versus broke. So we actually talk about mindset. But just I want to really address something you said there, Amit, and that is investing in something that you know. Oh my gosh. Every time I've lost a lot of money, I was investing in something I didn't know, and sometimes it wasn't through, anything negative or something deception, or, it could have been a friend of mine was doing a project and I'm like, yeah, I like this person, or I trust them, or they've got a track record, and I would drop £50,000 and then not see that again. So investing in what you know is crucial. So there's two ways you can improve your investments. One, invest in what you know to learn things that you aren't familiar with. So has been huge for me, and a little bit to lose. I don't need that money, and take investment advice. But there is a really book, I've lost money, and that is The Richest Man in Babylon. It's so simple. You read the book and you go, I'm much smarter than this, and I know that, but oh my gosh, there's 10 rules in there, and one of them is only invest in what you know, and don't take investment advice from a blacksmith, which sounds like a strange thing, because the book was written in an ancient parable. So you know how we all sit at the pub and we're taking investment advice from people who don't invest? Well, that's really bad. Also, I would strongly recommend, if I can delve deeper into that concept, just because someone's got a great bio doesn't mean they actually know what they're talking about. And I know that sounds strange. So I'm a very trusting person. Like, just by default, I'm a very trusting person. I always see the best in people, which is a good quality. But in investments and business, that could be a bad quality, because that means I can take people on face value without doing research, without analyzing, without looking at the numbers, without understanding what have they achieved in the past. I know this sounds terrible. I can't believe people like this actually exist. Have they actually achieved what they said they're going to achieve? That baffles me, that people can still claim that they've created things and they've not achieved anything like that. I'm just like, oh my gosh. Or people will say they've got results and they won't tell you exactly what is involved in the process, the risks, the downsides, or the margins on that, for example. So getting into the detail of what it is you're investing in is crucial. And if you don't know the detail, maybe don't invest. Maybe spend time, money, energy educating yourself on how to understand these things. That is so, so, so important. Because at the end of the day, you're going to pay for your education. You're either going to pay a mentor or you're going to pay from making mistakes. And I can tell you now, paying a mentor is much cheaper and much more fun. So, Tenji, are you here, brother?
Ryan, can I
Yes,
comment on what you just said? This is Anna.
Yes,
May
please,
I?
please. Yes.
Thank you so much. I love what you shared. Hi, Amit, my love. How are you? So great to see you always.
Hello, I'm so happy to see you too. As always, you're rocking
you.
up the stage. I love
Thank
you.
you. I love you too. Ta-da! I love that. That's now I'm gonna associate you with that, Amit. I love it.
That's me when I sleep for 10 hours without interruption.
I love it. That's awesome. Thank you. You said something so important, Ryan, that you either pay for it because you make the mistakes, or you pay your mentors, which is much cheaper than paying for it by trial and error and really risking making a lot of mistakes, right? And losing a lot of money. So by leveraging other people's experiences and knowledge, you can elevate yourself, accelerate your success, and accelerate your results and condense time. I love that concept, and I teach that as well. Now, you were talking about investing in what you know, and focusing also investing money to learn the things that you don't know. And for example, like I do that with my kids at the Academy of Business Leadership. I mean, we're talking about 10 to 18, I should say, mostly the kids, teaching them how to invest in the stock market, and just literally getting them and being taught by MBA graduates from Harvard Business School and the likes, and teaching them, for example, how to analyze companies to invest in them through the PE ratio, right? Price per share to earnings per share. And having these kids literally study that information and be able, and I've had launched so many kids, and I've had like thousands of kids go through the program for free, obviously because of their low income status, getting scholarship, but then they have to pay at least something minimal. But I agree with you. So it's important, yes, to be comfortable with what we know, but also to invest to learn what we don't know, because that's where the biggest opportunities could be lying, and we would be missing those if we were not to invest that time. And it's much cheaper, again, than doing it by trial and error. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I love that. Thank you. That's such a wonderful insight. Tenji, here, bro. You want to chime in?
Sure. Thanks for having me. What's going on, Ryan? This is Tenji Collin. I just wanted to, chime in. And I think the conversation, like that broke mindset. Sometimes a broke mindset can come from not just not having any money. It's just like you want to have it and just save it and not do anything with it, and think you're accumulating things. And I think I come from a space where it took a while to understand that type of mindset to run away from it. And it wasn't until later on in life where I realized, not just opening up other businesses and trying to do things and taking the profits from that same business and pouring it back into it, which a lot of people do, in the sense of doing something different and taking the money that you earn from the business and putting it into a different asset to make an asset of something. And realizing that, and just to go back to what Amit said, with doing something that and you understand, as far as like me being in the entertainment business, knowing that, like, when someone is getting hot as a person that's gonna get ready to start to become real big and famous, and understanding sports. Like last year, when a lot of the trading cards and the NFL cards and football and basketball cards were getting huge, I saw a position where, like a player like Kevin Durant, where his cards were going for like selling for like $800-900, and it was undervalued because he was injured. But the thing was, he was going to New York to play in Brooklyn. So and I guess, like, knowing entertainment, when somebody is in a big city, they're gonna promote them more. They're gonna pump them up, And this guy's an exceptional player anyway, which is a Hall of Famer. So I'm saying, regardless what he does, he's gonna have to get not just like a little pop. He's gonna, his car's gonna. So it went from a position of going from $800 cards to $15,000 cards right now, and that's just knowing, like, something in your field that you can learn to not just learn it, but switch markets, in the sense of going from entertainment to sports, but understanding the same business mindset of it. And I think a lot of times, normally I would have just, taken money what I made from another business and put it back into that, and then that's not it. Instead of having it and just put it aside and let it wait for another year or something for that cards to start developing and then paying off. And I think that's something, what I've learned with just changing the mindset of how I manage money and how I do better and become, because, like, I didn't have a mentor or anybody to learn it from. So it's just like, it's through just coming and seeing and hearing what other people do. And another good thing is when you start surrounding yourself with that, people with a different mindset, and then they tell you those little things that they're doing, you go, oh, I can do this, or I shouldn't be putting this in to back into a bank or into savings, or to just you understand it a lot better, and then you utilize it to your advantage. And I think that's a big part in wanting to change and to learn, but to focus on your field, but explore other businesses and other ideas. And I think sometimes we just pigeonhole ourselves into one formula, or something that's been successful for us, and scared to venture off. And I think what we're seeing now and today, with so many of the big businesses who've just been complacent and have been winning year in and year out, and they haven't changed. And now, they're being forced to be shut down, with people that's being innovative and doing, just new things, and creating different avenues for where people spend money. And they're no longer going to those, those type of stores, or just those brick and mortars who never changed up on anything. So that's the mindset I've changed, and I continuously grow and just change as a person while having that mindset. This is the voice of 10G Colin.
Yeah, that 10G, you've raised a really good point there. I just want to pick up on that, if that's okay, because this is not something
Sure.
we've mentioned. I know we've got John here as well. John, I just want to piggyback with what 10G has said around raising of value and giving value, and how we can all possibly create more value ourselves, because that impacts our price, it impacts our ability to partner, it impacts our ability to earn, I suppose. So what are your thoughts, John, on how, for example, those sports cards were increased in value, and how can you see people potentially increasing value so that they can earn more as well?
Ryan and Colin, to 10G, Value comes down to, there's this saying, and Ryan, you've said this to me in the past: when people pay, they pay attention, right? And that's one of those things that people got to start thinking about. But well, what are people paying for? That's the question. So Warren Buffett used this quote, and this quote is: "Price is what you pay, value is what you get." So when you look at all these things, whether it's sports car, whether it's you, whether it's consulting, whatever it is, the biggest point is that you need to upskill yourself. Everything you got to do, you need to upskill yourself, right? If you have 7 hours so then that chop is going to be quicker, it's going to be faster, it's going to be more efficient. And the thing is, like a lot of people try and take the long shortcut, right? Like for me, I tell you, the first year I started in this whole social media online stuff, I thought I could do everything myself. I thought I could go to Google to get everything for free. And it turns out that obviously, free content doesn't always translate sometimes. Sometimes you need structure, right? Sometimes you need, like you say, you can get advice from your friends, or you can get counsel, right? So the way you create that value is by upskilling yourself, and to basically, I've always said this quote before. It's my most favorite Bruce Lee quote, and it is: I fear not the man that can do 1,000 kicks. I fear the man that can do one kick 1,000 times. So if you can do one kick 1,000 times, imagine how much more talented you can be, right? People talk about charisma. Chris talk about this a lot when it comes to genius, about your divine self, by all ways to be able to do that, having that thought process, the mind genius at that, Ryan. And that is part of value. Value is understanding who you are and what you can offer. And for me, when I go into business partnerships, I'm always looking at, okay, it's not just about how much money. Like, you've got smart money and dumb money. Dumb money is like money goes in, okay, and now what else? Nothing, right? What else is that person going to bring to the table? And so value is based on what are you going to bring to that table, and also what assets do you personally have that can also make a massive difference to the person you're going into. So for me, I dedicated my life on understanding how sort of technology and how distribution channels can make an impact. And I hone my skill as a speaker. So a lot of people don't know this, but I used to have a stutter, believe it or not. I used to have a stutter many years ago. I don't think I've ever shared that on here, but I honed my speaking skills because I wanted to speak and not have to go like that. I wanted to communicate effectively, and I worked really freaking hard, right? Really hard, like on honing my skills. Spending a lot of time on stage and practicing over and over again. I'd be the type of guy that would go to a conference and order a flip chart to my room. Like, flip chart? Why? Like, I'd call up room service in the Ritz. Hey, can I order a flip chart? Why do you want a flip chart? So I want to practice, right? And I'll practice everything. I remember one time I was going on stage in front of 10,000 people in the London, exhibition. Like, there's a huge, like, Excel. It's a massive sort of convention center. And every day, Ryan, for 90 days, I would practice, and my talk would be around 47, 48 minutes. And then obviously we'd have to give an offer, and that would last around 20 to 25 minutes. Sometimes it would overrun a little bit, but I got it honed down to the T, everything. Right, until such point I was like reciting in my sleep, and I would get up, and that's adding value because I'm honing that skill. I get better at that skill. And I promise you one thing, everyone listening in the audience right now: if you dedicate your life to mastering a skill, you will be handsomely rewarded for that. Handsomely rewarded. And that's why now the different skill sets that I acquire is, I don't know if anyone have seen I'm a superhero film geek. I always love these superhero films, and there was this show years ago called Heroes, and there was this one character called Sylar, and his special power is the ability to absorb other people's special powers. So if you could fly, he would touch you, and then he'd be able to fly, and so that's what we do. We're collecting these superpowers. We're collecting these superpowers in the form of skills, and the way the heroes as entrepreneurs get rewarded for this is through the impact that we make to the community. Hence, people say, John, how come you've got 336,000 people following you? Because I'm on here every single day adding value. We've been on this app for, I don't know, I think Samantha will tell you, 179 days in a row now. We'll probably miss like one day out of all of that. And, this is really about consistency. Value comes from consistency as well. Consistency improves the game. If I play like people say, John, like, I've played the piano for 10 years, but they've played like once or twice in a month, versus somebody who plays the piano every single day, 5 times a day for just 6 months. It's the same outcome. So it's not always the time that you spend, but it's the time that you're immersed in it. And this is why I love what the stuff that you're doing in Genius Club, the stuff that you're doing with your masterclasses as well, Ryan. You know, you are really teaching people these ways. And like for me, the next skill I started to master was multiplying money. So recently, you know, like I used to be just a full blown on entrepreneur. And then as I started to make more money, I started to learning, wow, the rich people, the rich versus the broke, what do rich people do? I told you right at the start of this, people are leveraging the money. They're making money work hard for them. Like, do you know right now, most of you, if you've got money in the bank, you get nothing. There's no return. There are lots of people out there that will give you a high, like 2 or 3% ROI per month. There are so many people out there, businesses that will do that, but you just don't know about them. You can't find them, right? So I started putting my money into real estate that would grow in intrinsic value. I know, you know, Ryan, you've done similar investment styles as well. I've put it into stocks and shares. And I own millions of shares in one particular company. I just put in the last, I would say, 4 to 8 weeks. I can't remember exactly when it was, but I got an opportunity here on Clubhouse to invest in a company. It was a Silicon Valley company, massive company, been around for a long time. That CEO just went onto Bloomberg and said the company's now valued at $20 billion. I got in a lot less than that, Ryan. So I'm putting my money into that. Again, I'm not giving you or anyone nothing anyone shares on the stage is financial advice. It's just what we are doing, and you know, you must always consult a investment committee, your financial advisor, and do your research first. But you know, I'm putting money into marketing. Ryan, both you and I, we spend millions and millions on marketing because we know that we can put money in and get money out. Every dollar you put in, you get $2 out. Well, how much money are you going to put in? All of it. Right? We're leveraging, we're making our money work really, really hard for us. In fact, Ryan, what I'll do, because a lot of people joined it, we started this room at 7:30 this morning, and people are still here. And I want to, like, we've been giving gifts all the way through these time. You know, we've had Rob do something, we had Ed do a little gift, and if you could do a little gift later, that would be amazing as well. But I'm going to give a little gift right now, and that gift is, I'm running a 2-day summit called Wealth Mastery Live. This is a 2-day summit. It's all about basically multiplying your money. It's not really about business. You know, we talk a lot about business here, but that's more about, like, once you've made your money in business, what do you do with it? Where do you invest it? Where do you put it? Like, what's the trends right now? And so people like Sharon Lecter speak there. We've had people like there as well. We've had Jim Quick, New York Times bestselling author. We have some amazing lineups coming up, and I'll announce that. But I'd like to give that as a gift to everybody, because I think, you know, I could go. I don't want to take too much time on the stage because I've been speaking a lot, but I just think it to attend. If you click on my face, you scroll all the way down to the bottom, and then go to my Instagram. Make sure you are following me on Instagram. So click that blue follow button, and then send me a DM right now with the word event, EVENT, event. And if you send me a DM right now with the word event, my John bot will send you a link to the registration page, and you will be able to register. Once you've registered, it will take you to the thank you page, and that's your pre-training before we have the event on the end of July. So it's a 2-day summit. I'll bring some of the best speakers in the world in terms of how they're multiplying money right now. And that's going to be my gift to all of you. So make sure you do that right now. The issue is, Ryan, we can only have 1,000 people at that event because my Zoom account can only hold 1,000 people. We had 6,500 people registered for the last one. I think I sent you guys a screen grab so you can see it. So the spaces will, because this is a complimentary event. It's not a paid for. It's a complimentary. It's my gift to all of you as a thank you for supporting our rooms, for supporting the UK Mod Squad, and for being here since 7:30 a.m. in the morning. So yeah, if you just send me a DM right now with the word event, EVENT, get yourself registered, and then send me a DM back just with the word done. Just to let me know that you've registered, so then we can really I look forward to seeing you on there. So yeah, I just wanted to add that in there. Ryan, seeing as over on this topic of value creation.
Yeah, thank you, John. And for those of you who haven't employed John as one of your mentors, advisors in life, I can't stress how valuable and generous this still young do is DM event, and you'll get access to that. I know John sends us screen grabs of his events on what. And John, like for example, his jail.club is own value. It's exponentially going to impact your life. The gentleman is very, very generous. Hence, he's also very, very wealthy. I was very fortunate to meet him and his family recently at his birthday, and I can see how he's become such a wonderful human because his folks are just absolutely incredible. In fact, his mom is extremely good at blackjack. So I've learned a lesson there. Don't take John's mom on blackjack. So that was fun.
I love, brother. Thank you so much. You know, it means a lot. And I just want to say as well, you know, later, you know, if any of you have the opportunity to work with Ryan, I would just highly, highly recommend it. The reason for that is, again, I don't know anyone who has been able to, I don't know if this word science-fy or codify or to break down the scientific process of being able to, like, a lot of people talk about law of attraction, but I've never seen them talk about it in the way that you've done it. And you know, Ryan's got an amazing resource later. I mean, really is. I mean, if any of you get part of, you know, to be able to be a part of some of his training as well, because no one really talks about the mindset of things. They talk about the tactics, and I say that's yin yang, Ryan, 50-50, isn't it? You've got to have the strategy, the tactics, but also the mindset is the sweet spot that sandwiches these two things together. What's the big picture? Here's what I want to do. Here's how I do it. But the middle part is, and this is what you teach people, and you've done that with thousands of people all around the world. And I just think if any of you have that opportunity to work with Ryan, I would grab it with two hands, because this guy he literally is a genius. Hence genius.club. So I just want to add that in there as well, Ryan.
Thanks, John. And just to clarify, is it event or events that they need to DM with you?
Event. Yeah,
just event.
event.
Yeah, great. Thanks for that clarification, bro. And thank you for your kind words. And John, it's interesting what you said, because I think what you and I have both been able to do, and everyone who is successful, is simplify something that can be quite complex. So when I was reading up on consciousness and mindset and personal development and spirituality and meditation, all things I'm very passionate about, it was quite a difficult process and complicated process. I know some people have personal development processes which take 8 hours. I'm sorry, I don't know what anyone else's timetable is like, but I don't have 8 hours to resolve some anger issues. You know, I'm going to be more angry after the process than when I started. So what you've done, John, in jail.club and your other events, and for those of you who haven't done so, please hop on over to John's Instagram, DM him the word event, and get access. Is John's been able to take things and simplify them. I've been able to take consciousness, which has traditionally been quite a high level conversation. You know, people like Joe Dispenza, Deepak, absolute geniuses, pioneers, you know, thought leaders, really, really pioneering the way for people to raise consciousness. I found that they were quite overwhelming and quite complex, particularly in their language. I mean, they're very intelligent. Consciousness, if you read Power versus Force, an amazing book, but you do need like half a PhD to understand what's going on. So what we've been able to do, both John and I, and most people are very successful, is simplify things so that anyone can actually digest that. I kind of describe myself as the Henry Ford of consciousness, because Henry Ford made the motor vehicle accessible to every person on the planet. And that's my mission. My mission is to make genius and purpose and consciousness and mastering self-awareness accessible to every single person on the planet. And in order to do that, you have to simply complicated process, and then they'll give up. So thanks for that, John. Really appreciate you. All right, we've got a few more people joining us in the room. We're discussing. Tap that little green room at the top of this app. That is the Entrepreneur Millionaire Secrets Club, one of the largest clubs on Clubhouse. In fact, I believe it's one of, or if not the top 2 entrepreneur clubs here on the app. So please, when you do tap that, you do get to follow the club, turn your notification bell on as well, because that means as soon as any rooms are created in this club, you will then have a notification that the room is open and active. And as Clubhouse are doing a tremendous job behind the scenes to promote the app, and I think as many people who can get access to the app should get that app, it does mean there are more rooms, more conversations, which is brilliant. But if you do want to get involved in these conversations more often, then you do need to not only just follow the club, but also hit the notification bell on as well. Also, follow the speakers on the app here. That's on the panel. And also similarly, make sure you hit that notification bell for the same reason, so that you can be notified of when they are curating amazing conversations. So I'd love to hear from anyone else on the panel about your thoughts on rich versus broke mindset. And if we can get tactical as well, it's lovely hearing your stories. I do always enjoy hearing stories. Let's try and drop some value bombs, some proper gems, not the fake gems that another app has created. Ooh, bit of a passive aggressive dig there. No resentment. No, I'm only kidding. So we've got Beatrice. Have I said your name correctly?
Ryan, yes, you can call me Beatrice. You can call me BJ. I'm Beatrice Josephine, so I go by BJ.
Wow, Beatrice Josephine. That sounds like a rock star name. So glad to see you.
Awesome.
That sounds like a Hollywood name. That to me.
I'll take
what are
it.
your
I'll
thoughts?
take it. I'll take it, Ryan.
So what are your thoughts, my friend?
I have many after I've been listening to you guys. First, I want to say hi to John, Samantha, Rob, and you, Ryan. Always great to be in your presence, and everybody else on stage that I've known now. Look, I'm going to go back to, I've been involved in one way or the other for 20 years with the Tony Robbins organization with several hats. But I'm going to tell you what you guys are reminding me of here. The first time I ever was in an event with Tony Robbins, and that was again 20 years ago, it was his Unleash the Power Within, right? It was my first UPW. And when I did that, his message never got to me at the beginning 20 years ago. He sounded like he was selling. It was a guy that never got to me, but the message was surrounding me by so many, this my accountant would tell me something, my attorney, my friends, that I went to this event. And I always say this as a joke, but it's the truth. At the end of this event, if Tony Robbins would have sold me suppositories, I would have bought them, right? But then I bought everything. I bought his whole package. It was super expensive. It was thousands of dollars at the time. And for me, I was a single mom. You've heard my story before. I came to this country alone with 2 little girls. So I was a single mom. I was in that event with my sister. And what he was putting on the table was a lot of money for us. But I had this thing that I had to do it, and I paid it. Now, when I went to his second event of this package that I bought, he began to sound to me very repetitive, and I began to ponder, did I make the right investment? Did I do the right thing, right? Because this was thousands of dollars. And the reason why I went to the story, which is not why I jumped on stage, is because, John, when you were talking about having the amount of followers and having the amount of success on this platform specifically, because you have showed up for so long. You guys know, you guys that have seen me here, that I join you almost daily, if not daily. And there's not one day I don't get a gem out of your conversation. And my take of this is just show up. Make sure that you're out there doing things. Nobody's gonna knock at your door and inspire you on what to do next, or teach you or guide you on what to do next. And showing up in these rooms, we get inspiration, because even if we're fantastic, we just get stuck, and just hearing one thing here and there. And so I just want to say that. But going back to what you said, Ryan, about add value, John, I have to say that that upscale yourself really resonated with me, because it's a great way to kind of make us see, as you can see in my profile, I say lead yourself first. So when you say upscale yourself, it's the power of words. It's the power of saying, you know, how can I make myself go better? That it makes me go back to Anna's point of invest, train, and grow, right? Because we can be satisfied with who we are. We can never be our best. We have to keep growing, keep growing, keep growing. So I really, really love that. And when Tenji, and I'll say this last because I know I can talk here for an hour. When Tenji was talking about the different cars and where we put our time, time is just time. And if we try to hear from people that we know are fantastic and learn, we're going to make it a lot more efficient, our time a lot more efficient. And when it comes to money, I always say when people have a weird relationship with money, they hear us talking in these rooms about money. I will say again what I used to say to my kids when they used to say, "Mom, you all you talk is about money, all your books and financial books." And I did not have a financial education growing up. So for me, it was really important. And I said to my girls what I tell you today. I said, look, can you be poor and help people? Of course you can. You have a great heart. You're going to help people. You're going to be awesome. But if you're financially set, your message, your scope, and what you can do to the world is going to be a lot bigger because you're going to be able to reach more people. Thank you guys for giving us this platform. Thank you for dropping us so many gems. And you inspire me, and I'll be here every time I can. This is BJ. Thank you guys.
Thank you, Beatrice. That was amazing. You hit on a really good point there, right? So I have this weird thing, and maybe it's something I need to work on. But you know, often if I'm doing a presentation or I do a coaching session or we run a workshop, and people go, "Oh my gosh, you're amazing!" And every time I hear that, every time I get a compliment, of course, I've learned to receive that, so I'm very grateful. But every time I hear that, I actually think of all the people, and there's, oh gosh, countless, all the people that have helped me along the way, whether it was a mentor, or whether it was my students, even people that I coach and mentor on consciousness and finding purpose. I learned so much. You know, I just ran a workshop on the weekend about unconditional love and how to create relationships from high vibration in alignment with your purpose. Oh my goodness. That was such a powerful experience watching other people go through that experience, but also the questions, you know, so the interactivity part of the workshop, when people ask me questions and I'm in an intuitive space and I come up with some answers and some content and some wisdom. One, I'm creating more content. Two, I'm creating more tools and techniques to help other people. But three, I'm going on a healing journey of mastery as well. It's repetition. It's showing up. It's being in proximity of greatness, you know. So the one thing that I would say I would give myself 100% credit for is I've always consciously chosen to immerse myself around amazing people. So when I get compliments, I kind of, you know, honor every single person that has helped me become the person I am, because I don't feel like I great point there. You know, if you want to be successful, hang around with successful people. If you want to be a drug addict or an alcoholic, was when I was going through personal development, one of the key reasons I was going to Tony Robbins' events and studying NLP, and but that's because I was hanging out with people like that. I was still learning. I was still going to seminars. I was still walking on fire. I was still high-fiving people. I was doing all of the stuff. But the people I was hanging around with meant I didn't change. And that's what's wonderful about this clubhouse. That's what's wonderful about masterminds. That's what's wonderful about celebration and love and creativity and doing good in the world. You become who you hang out with. That's why a lot of us, even if we are quote unquote successful and maybe have, you know, a lot of wealth, we're still here learning from each other. We're still here serving, you know. And I remember in the beginning of my journey, I was like, Why do people go to these events if they're really successful? It's because they became successful by going to events. So why would you stop doing the thing that got you there in the first place? In fact, I would even say, if you stop doing the things that got you to where you are, you're going to go back to where you came from. That's really important. Think about that. If you stop doing the things that got you to where you are, you're going to go back to where you came from, because by default, we're all fearful. By default, we all want to hide. For some of us, we've got different unconscious egos. For me, I like to hide. I like to, avoid expression. I like to play safe. But as a speaker, I can't be on stage and play safe. I've got to share my passion. I've got to share my views. And you know what? At the beginning, many times, I would say things and people would get upset. And that wasn't mine. I go, oh gosh, I better not say that again. And I was and fitting in. And then I didn't have the success. And I did so from a... But, at the end of the day, we have all got to make sure that we consciously choose who we hang out with. So thank you so much for that insight. That was fantastic. Anybody else would like to chime in on this conversation?
Yes. Hey, Ryan, this is Daniel. Thank you so much for all you're offering. John, thank you so much for all you're offering. Everybody, thank you so much for all you're offering. I've been sitting here listening and really taking in everything, and I love the way this conversation's going. And I just have a small, very, what I think, useful piece. And it comes through a story, if I could tell that. When I left the $1 billion company that I was destined to run, what happened was really strange. My best friend during that period of time just got so upset with me, and he disowned me. And he said, "You're just such an idiot that you would leave all this to find happiness and inner peace. What are you, crazy? Like, we've had plans together. We were going to do stuff together. We were going to use this money to help so many people. I want nothing to do with you." And he was my best friend. And I said, "I honor your choice. If you have a right to that, and I will honor you." I didn't see him for 30 years. And I was coming up from the ground floor, from the street level, in a hotel called the Mandarin Oriental in New York. And they have an elevator that takes you from the street to the lobby on the 34th floor. And then from the lobby, you take your elevator up to your room. Well, as I was coming out of the elevator at the lobby, I saw my best friend when I was a young kid walking into the elevator. And I thought, should I say something or not? And I thought, why not? And I said, "Neil?" And he said, "Who said my name?" I said, "I did." He said, "How do you know my name?" I said, "You don't remember me." He said, "No, who are you?" I said, "This was your best friend, remember? I left the company and then you disowned me. You excommunicated me." And he said, "Danny, come with me. We're going to the club." He had 3 girls draped all over him. He said, "We're going to dance. We're going to party. We have a lot of cocaine. We're going to do a lot of, alcohol. We'll have fun together. I've got your night set up for you. So just join me." And I said, "Neil, it's okay. That's not who I am right now anymore. But I'd love to meet you for lunch tomorrow." He looked at me, he looked at the girls he was with, he looked at the elevator, and he gave the girls $3,000. He said, "Go and have a good time. I'm going to stay with my friend Danny." We sat in the lobby of the Mandarin Oriental from 10:30 at night until 4:30 in the morning. And we were drinking a very good bottle of scotch and smoking cigars. At the end of the night, when it was time to go to our rooms, he looked at me and he said, "I hate you, Danny. I've hated you all this time. I thought you were an idiot. But here I am. I have more money than God. Every city that I go to, I have 3 girls on my shoulder. I cheat on my wife. I'm on my 4th wife. My kids don't speak to me. And when I look at you, I see this peace, that you bring with you. And I'd give anything for that peace. It's the one thing I've never been able to find. And I said, Neil, that is not hard to find. We can do that together. I'll sit with you. He said, as soon as I get back home, I'll call you. That was 20 years ago. And he never called. Ryan, I think when you speak about this sort of mindfulness and this idea of mindset, I think part of what you're talking to is Neil. Is people, you can have everything in the world and still have nothing. It doesn't mean that you have to have nothing if you have everything. I've seen a lot of really rich people who have had really everything, beautiful things. But I've seen a lot of people that if they don't know themselves, if they don't have a sense of being able to listen to that voice within them, if they don't have the ability to hear the voices of those around them, to listen and to really take it in, but not only listen and follow. Sometimes you can do that, but in my life, over the course of my years, listening is something I always want to do. Following is something that I sometimes do and I sometimes don't, because I have to be able equally to listen to my own inner voice and know, is what's being given to me something that would be mine, or is it just something that's worked for somebody else? Because I've seen a lot of people do what a lot of other people have done, and they've become tremendously wealthy. But they've been like Neil, because who they were was not that. So I would really like to encourage people to get to know that inner voice that's inside them, to run everything through that inner voice, and to always be willing to listen to it. I believe when we do that, the greatest wealth is ours. I believe that is the rich mindset. This is Daniel, and I'm out.
Wow, Daniel, that was so powerful, my friend. I could just hear your wisdom and your vibration, and it takes great humility to want to consciously surrender to the temptations and the trappings of our world. One of the philosophies that I've learned and benefited from greatly, and I still feel I got a long way to master, was the application of Joseph Campbell's hero's journey. And in Joseph Campbell's hero's journey, there's 3 demons. We have to all face our inner demons. One of them is the temptress, and that's what Daniel was talking about, the trappings of our modern world. And I'm not saying, I'm not trying to project on how people should live their life. I'm not coming from a space of righteousness. Please understand that. But you have to admit that a lot of the mainstream marketing is manipulating that temptress that seduces us into maybe doing things that are not good for us. I read an amazing book about alcoholism, and watch how often in a film or a TV series they anchor drinking as part of a celebration or part of a way to actually overcome a stressful situation. At the end of each scene, gosh, almost at the end of every scene I see now, they pour a whiskey, have a sip, pour a whiskey, have a sip. And this book suggests, and I'm not saying that's because, mainstream media are anchoring in having a drink with a good experience, because obviously governments get a lot of tax on alcohol and so forth. So it's very interesting to have the power, as Daniel so beautifully articulated, to trust your inner wisdom. Is drinking good for me now? Is drinking good for me later? Is there a time and a place? Us finding our own purpose, our own journey, is arguably the most important journey we should all be going on. And what Daniel referred to there so intelligently and wisely around that inner voice, that's what Steven Spielberg said as well. Steven Spielberg said, we all have an inner whisper. Can you hear the problem with that, by the way? It's a whisper. Our unconscious ego is a raging lunatic, a bull in a china shop in our consciousness, and our genius, our talent, is a whisper. And so we have to learn how to tune into that whisper and listen quietly into the creativity and innovation of our entrepreneur. That's why going for walks in nature, very powerful. Get into the silence of nature so you can connect to that whisper. I'm sure many of you have been driving a car or having a shower or being on holiday and you're getting amazing ideas. That's because you're creating this space. Those ideas were always there, ladies and gentlemen, but we're just too busy, too stimulated, too distracted to connect to that inner whisper. So I actually have some very, very powerful techniques that will empower you to increase the volume of your inner whisper. I believe that we all have an inner genius. I believe that we all have natural gifts and talents. For example, I believe that I was born to speak, and this showed up in my schooling career. Every quarter in my school report, my teachers would say, Ryan shows great potential, but he speaks too much. He's too talkative. I would get reprimanded for speaking, but I was born to speak. Give me a stage, not a punishment. You know, and every time I make the most amount of money, guess what I'm doing? I'm speaking. That's why I'm on the app. That's why I love serving people. I love being on stages. Put me in front of a few thousand people, and I perform at a level that no other medium allows me to channel into. And I also believe that this inner genius, our natural gifts and talents, if we were able to commercialize that, whether that's singing, whether that's music, whether that's healing, whether that's coaching, whether that's business, whether that's leadership, whether it's humanitarian skills, right? You can still create a lot of wealth and contribute to other people, maybe through charities and so forth, right? If we're able to harness our inner genius, if we're able to master our mental, emotional self, as Gary Vaynerchuk would say, you know, the number one reason he's successful, he always says, is he knows himself, self-awareness. The Oracle of Delphi says, above all else, know thyself. You know, if you don't know if you don't know yourself and you create success, you're going to do all the things that Daniel mentioned that his friend was doing, where the pressure is going to make you do stupid shit. Like you're going to behave out of character under pressure. So I actually got a free resource at genius.club. If you go to your browser, you type in genius.club and you go there right now, what you'll see is you'll find a free resource. And in that, there are tools and techniques where you can master mental emotional mastery. There are free visualizations, meditations, and subconscious mind programs that will allow you to actually connect to that inner whisper that Daniel's talking about. You'll actually be able to discover your natural gifts and talents. You'll get clarity of purpose. So if you're looking to discover your purpose in one or more areas of life, I believe that purpose is related to all areas of life, by the way, not just our work. We have to have purpose in relationship. We have to have purpose in our bliss and fun. We have to have purpose in our health. Otherwise, we're not going to go to the gym, particularly when it's raining here in the UK, which is 98% of the time. Right? We have to have something that drives us. Purpose creates inspiration. Think of the word inspiration. It means to be inspire, in your spirit. If you can be in your spirit, you will be able to achieve great things in your business, in your relationships, in your creativity. That's what genius is. Genius is about being creative, being innovative, right? So in business, of course, model other people, have mentors, but then go home, use your intuition, use your imagination, use your genius to innovate and create new products, new services, new marketing strategies. Just recently, because my events business came to a halt during the pandemic, I invented or innovated a new style type that automated webinars were working as if it a different style. You know, some might say that's genius, you know, innovation. So we all have an inner genius. And if you're struggling in life and across all areas, then you haven't accessed that inner genius. You have it within you. Everyone has a genius, right? Even politicians. So that's what my job is. That's my purpose. I love inspiring people to unleash their genius. There are free resources at genius.club, visualizations about how to take your relationships to the next level, how to evolve your rich mindset. I also run weekly live workshops. I know myself and Samantha enjoy a similar style of teaching. We like to have the interaction. We love sharing our energy. We love having people participate and ask questions. So I run live weekly workshops, free, by the way, on genius.club. Now, John is, telling me I need to charge for this thing. And if I have to let him have his way, I'll be charging for genius.club sooner rather than later. I might actually join his subscription workshop on the weekend, and maybe next week I'll start charging for this free resource. So make sure you take advantage of it right now. It's genius.club. Whilst it's still free, I'm continuing to populate that resource with lots of content, lots of visualizations, lots of meditations. It's completely unique, completely different. and it's free for now. Also, pop on over to my Instagram account, follow, give me a little cheeky follow, as Ed with a green head would say, and also you can DM me Genius. That's another way to get into genius.club. So Samantha, I know you've been sitting there patiently. I know you've got lots you want to contribute on this topic. And by the way, I just want to honor and respect you for what you said this morning about the fact that you've got a lifestyle that you've chosen. I love how you've chosen to create your life. And I really honor you for saying, you know what, I have the freedom to choose to work when I want to. And I think that is a very, very noble decision to make, because we can all, start comparing ourselves to each other and saying, oh my gosh, this person's got 7 cars, I should get 8. But I know that you're a very loving, very generous, very successful person, and you know exactly what you want. And quite frankly, I think the most important thing anyone could ever decide for themselves is what they want, as opposed to living a life that other people want. So I love you tremendously. You're a wonderful human being, and I know you've wanted to chime in for a while. So thanks for your patience.
Oh, thank you, Ryan. It's really funny that you mentioned that because 4.5 hours ago now, when we started this room, I was talking about having a very much a lifestyle business where I get to choose whether I want to work, because I've got passive income that covers everything. But tying in with what Ryan just said, literally with his Genius.club, which I am a member of, I raise my hand and say I'm a very, very happy member of Genius.club, and I'm very lucky to get to speak to Ryan on a one-to-one basis, and we talk quite often. So if you can get in on the chance to get on one of his free workshops, please do. Literally all you need to do is go to genius.club. Genius is spelled GENIUS.CLUB. You're holding your phone right now, probably. Go to your browser. I used to be able to say go to Safari, but you might be on an Android. So go to your browser, type that in right now, and join while it's still free. Because honestly, if John could get us all to build our own .clubs and charge for them, then he will. And we're all working on it. So definitely go there right now, because Ryan just said about me consciously choosing to have a business that I get to choose when I work, or even if I don't work. And I yesterday spent it's going to make you laugh, an hour and a half lying in the bath, literally just thinking about why sometimes I feel pressure to go and do something, like go and work on a new webinar and go and sell more people. And I was just sat there and I was just thinking, why am I doing that? Am I doing it because everybody around me is desperately, and I mean this, desperately working on webinars and building their businesses? And do I really, really deep down inside want to build a massive business that means working even more? And does it mean working even more? And I'm going to ask all the panel a question in a minute, so be prepared to answer. Stand by your phones. And I'm also going to get the audience involved too. But I say this from the place of, I have property, and this is what I think everybody should be going for, is having that passive income. And it's not just me that says this. If you look at the billionaire lists, most of them, and I do mean most of them, have real estate, have property that makes up the vast majority of their wealth. And when you own, people rent it to live there or to have their business premises in there, you get paid that money, and that money comes in rain or shine. Yes, last year was a bit different, but out of the 700 properties that we've got in my family business, I've got some, we as a family own some, we manage a whole load. Of those 700, 95% of the people who paid on time previously, pre the pandemic, they carried on paying. So even during the pandemic, you still get paid. And that's the amazing thing about having passive income. And I do believe property is almost as passive as you can get. Although you do have maintenance issues, go and buy, go and have your own maintenance company like we do. But that money comes in, and so I'm able to have a very lean, as I said right at the beginning of this room, a very lean, have a nice car. It's an automatic, it's got leather seats, it's beautiful. And I have a house that I own completely mortgage free, so I don't have to pay a mortgage or rent every month like some people do. And I know there are people who've got massive mansions, which are amazing, but it costs them tens of thousands to keep their lifestyle running. I mean, I know people really, really well, good friends of mine, who last year really struggled because they might be spending up to, let's say, £1 million. £1 million. So I don't know what that is in dollars. A month looking after their businesses. So when their income dried up, they still had to find that money to go and pay all the things they normally pay. Whereas if you have quite a lean life and your passive income covers that, then come rain, shine, pandemic, no pandemic, everything's covered. And I promise, when you work from a place of I'm going to say safety, but safety is completely and utterly in your mind. And this all ties back into what Ryan's been talking about, what we all talk about from the mindset point of view. And we were talking about mindset in this room. When you think from a place of everything's okay, I'm safe, everything's going to be all right, there's more than enough money in the whole world and everything's okay. When you operate from that place, you're able to produce things that truly change the world, rather than operating from a place of, I need to make money right now. I need, there's not enough money in my bank account to cover my rent. I desperately need that money. And when you try and sell from a place of desperation, I know your people, they can feel that. Whereas when you operate from a place where actually, you know what, it's not about the money. Like, yes, the money's amazing. The money will come. But when you operate from a place of, I just want to help and serve people, your money will come in faster than you ever thought possible, because the money's basically coming to you to say, hey, you're helping and serving people. Here is the money that's the kind of byproduct of that, rather than being the end goal itself. So it's really interesting that you can come from a completely different place where most of the time in everyday life, in the normal social society that we have, people just focus on the money all the time. I hear this all the time. Sometimes at like the school gate, people are talking about, oh, did you see the car that so-and-so got? I now need to get that car. Oh, I'm going to have to work more hours to get it, or I'm going to have to borrow more on a credit card. And that is completely the wrong place to come from, because when all you're trying to do is just outcompete with someone, you're not truly bringing value to the world. Whereas when you bring value to the world, you will be rewarded with the money, because the money is a reflection of how much value that you're giving out to the universe. So I just think that is the place that the really wealthy people that I know, the place that I operate from, is trying to produce more value. How can I serve people better today than I did yesterday? How can I serve more people today than I did yesterday? But make sure you're doing it because you want to do it, or keep up with your neighbors, or make everybody else think that you've reality. If you stop, because you can't sustain that life. So where they're coming from. Now I'm going to pose a question to the audience first with me, because I really want some hardcore tactics from you all. So be prepared. But I'm going to do the raise hands feature for the audience, because I want to know a question. I want to know whether, number one, you are if you've got your own business. That's going to be the first question. And then the second question is going to be, are you in a job? Are you employed by a business? So it's not your business, you're employed by business. Because I want to just get an idea of the split of our audience to feel where they are. So if you can hear my voice, I want you to just come back to your phone really quickly. I just want to see whether you've got your own business or whether you're in a job, because I want to try and give you as good tactics that really are going to help you in the audience as possible. I don't want this to be a room you go, oh yeah, how do I actually implement that? Because sometimes, it's great listening to stories. Stories move feelings then create, and because you're going to take action from that place of feeling. But I really want hardcore tactics from the stage, and I want those tactics to apply to you in the audience, because I am all about serving the room as best as possible, not necessarily about bigging ourselves up, but serving people. So I'm going to open the hand raise. I want you to raise your hand if you have your own business. So you're in the audience and you have your own business. Run back to your phone right now and raise your hand quickly for me. Keep your hand raised as well. Don't bring it down once you've raised it, because otherwise the numbers, I can't tell. So raise your hand if you have your own business. If you're in the audience in this room right now and you have your own business. Look at that, you guys. You're amazing. So lots of numbers there. Keep the hand raised. Keep the hand raised. Let's keep going for another. You've got 10 seconds to get to your phone. Come out of Instagram. Stop in Instagram. Come back to your phone. Raise your hand if you've got your own business. Okay, so I'm 5. I'm going to close down 3, 5, 3, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, you've had your chance. Okay, so I've got my number there of how many people have got their own business. So let's turn hand raising off, and then we're going to switch it up. So now I only want you to raise your hand